others. And today I want to talk to you about something that I spent many years studying. And I thought it would be really interesting for my audience to learn because there's so much doom and gloom and things. And I thought this is something that people can learn and kind of use it in their lives. And it's a form of numerology that I learned. And it's based in West African form of healing from the Dagara tribe. There was a fellow Malidoma Some, and he was living with his tribe in West Africa, and missionaries took him when he was a young boy and brought him to the United States and westernized him. So he was living with this kind of combination of his indigenous tribe roots from Africa, and they were shaman. And then he learned the Western ways as well. And he went on to, I think he got his PhD from Brandeis. I could be wrong, but I think it was Brandeis. So anyway, he walked those two worlds and decided that he wanted to go back to his roots and teach. So I worked with an elder of his, someone who studied with him for many years, and Anne, who has since passed during COVID. But this was information that part of what changed my life. So there are these 5 elements of healing from the Dagara tribe, and it's based on the book, The Healing Wisdom of Africa by Malidoma Some. So if your last digit of your birth year ends with a 0 or 5, you are considered an earth. And earth people, I'm going to read this to you, they embody the caretaker. Earth people represent nourishment. So if you know people whose birth date ends with a 0 or 5, they're all about support and comfort, empowerment, survival, healing, and unconditional love. They have the power to be noticed and to be seen. They are the lover of the earth and the world. And the earth people can find comfort anywhere and everywhere. Earth people are those who have a lot of earth energy and are nurturers and want everyone to feel content, respected, and loved. They can't stand scarcity. They would give away everything before they give anything to themselves. So they take care of people spiritually, materially, and emotionally. They just give. Now, when someone is not in alignment, they're in their shadow. So the shadow element of someone who's in earth, if they're not fully standing into their earth, is a person without earth is in crisis. They're homeless or in exile. This person has lost their grounding. They feel empty, alone, and confused, and may suffer from invisibility and anonymity. And I will tell you from people who I know who are earth people, when they are not in alignment, there can be a lot of self-destruction as well. And they struggle to stay grounded, and there may be addiction issues with these people. So now, if your birth year ends in double digits, such as 00 or 55, that means you're a master earth. So then you have double duty with these particular traits. The next one is if your birth year ends in a 1 or 6, or if it's 66, you are considered a water, and then you would be master water. Or if it was 11, like 2011, they'd be master water. And these people seek things in balance. If you imagine like water, they want things in balance. They have the capability to cool someone who's emotionally on fire. And water likes to keep things the way they are. They don't like to make waves, literally. They like things smooth. They don't want the environment to be disturbed, and they prefer to see the potential good in everyone. They show great understanding and are eager to make things work for the greatest good. And water people think of community, relationship, and harmony. Now, without water, nothing can be purified or authentic. Water is about clearing, cleansing, and reconciliation and balance. The water person perceives the world in terms of possibilities. With water, there's also grief. And according to the Dagara tribe, there's two different types of grief. There's shallow water, right? The shallow where, I'm going to be sad today. I'm going to have a good cry and let it out. Then there's deep water, the murky, deep water, like you feel like you're drowning, like you're deeply depressed. So water people feel much deeper than the rest of us. They are very sensitive and feel. And emotions are also considered water. And that's something that you need to be mindful. So oftentimes water people will be told, oh, you're too sensitive. Maybe, maybe not. But the case is that you are feeling it. And it's important not to suppress that, to deal with it. But also know that you don't have to stay there in the dark, murky mud and drown underwater. So when you have too much water, so grief comes on the widening gap of what's possible and what's not possible. Water cleanses and washes away the impurities of failures. Grief is the enemy of denial. When your world is out of balance and unreconciled, the waters are polluted, or you can be in deep water. If you have too much water, there may be little ambition. You're not in a hurry to do anything or to complete anything. They're also annoyed when being told to hurry up. They think about all of the things that haven't been accomplished, and if they are badly out of balance, they don't even feel badly about it. This shallow water and deep water, you'll see the difference between. Deep water is murky and mucky, and you can get stuck in it and feel like you're drowning. The shallow water is more like, I'm going to have a good cry and get it over with. There's a big difference. And it's important, if you have someone who's a water in your life, be supportive of their emotions because they're real. They just feel much deeper than you do. The next one is if your birth year ends in a 2 or a 7. That's fire, and that's me. So I am a fire. And these are people who have deep connection to their ancestors. Fire is also connected to the spirit world. It's the part of us that knows what has always been. They're dreamers, visionaries, and have a strong intuition, can be intense, and have great passion and emotions. They're the gatekeepers into the other world. They understand dream imagery, and they live on the edge of human culture and ancestral culture. Their task is to go between the two worlds. Shamans and healers fit into this category. And I will tell you that this so embodies who I am. If someone's fire is burning, they can't stay focused, and they can ruin their lives, run their lives like they're hummingbirds. Like they can't sit still. They're just move, 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 move. And a person on fire is always craving connection. They're restless and have strong dream experiences. Fire people often feel like they don't fit in, and other people have problems understanding why they won't behave like everyone else. I know that I've had that issue multiple times in my life. Fire people often live in the future and find others too slow. Others can see them as impatient, hyperactive, and sometimes intolerant. A fire person cannot stay idle. However, they can be brought into warm and gentle flames and be grounded. They can also be scorched earth. And here's the interesting thing. These elements not only represent you when your birth year, it's also the year you're going into. So if you look back on certain years, like 2017, seven was a fire year. There was a lot of scorched earth that happened back then. The next one is nature, and those are people with the last digit of 3 or 8. Nature signifies the principle of change, transformation, mutation, adjustment, flexibility, cycles of love, of life, death, and magic. Now, we have every single one of these elements in us, and we will move from one to another because there are times, even though I'm a fire, I know very well that I was deeply depressed for a period of time. I moved into that deep water place, or I have moved into nature and all of these things. But the important thing is to know who you are. And if you know the birth year of the person who you're with, it tells you a lot about them. You will be shocked at how relevant these numbers are when you're dealing in relationships. So nature invites us to change consciously and welcome the change. The nature person has great ability to adjust and shapeshift. Nature people challenge us to be real and to be ourselves because they see through the BS. They can see who you really are and cannot stand masks. They cannot stand people who lie because they see the truth. They know what the truth is. And they can call you out on it. So they also see through people's masks. They have the ability to see things and they truly are. They love using humor, play, and joy to participate and encourage people to be real. They also have the ability to manifest, and I have witnessed this. They will set their minds on something and they will generally achieve it. They're like magicians. They are crazy manifestors. When they want something, they will go for it. Nature people, though, in shadow, can be caught up in drama. They can be frustrated that people don't see what they see, and because they can see it so clearly. When they're out of alignment, they can feel stuck and unable to manifest or be flexible. The next one, the last one, is mineral. And that is for people whose last digits of their birth date are 4 and 9. And this is the storage place of memory, creativity, resources, stories, and symbolism. These are the orders. They're speakers, they're creative, they're writers, they're poets. These all people also, because in ancient times before they had the written word, stories need to be told. The information went down from generation to generation through stories. So the mineral people were the ones who passed down the stories. And they help people remember who they are at a deep level. They carry a bone knowing of who they are. So they're in shadow when they wander without purpose, and they are stripped of their genius. And if you think of the Native Americans or any indigenous people who are basically stripped of who they are abused and told not to use their language. They're sent to schools and being beaten and forced to learn new ways. So the important thing is they are reprogrammed. And there's a story of an indigenous tribe that I spent time with in Costa Rica called the Dagara Tribe. And they told the story of how the chief's mother was in the school that was like a reprogramming school. And if she used any of her native language or told any stories related to her indigenous background, she was forced to kneel on gravel for hours, among many other things. So, someone in midlife crisis is in the process of trying to remember who they are. And when people ignore their bones, that bone knowing of who they are, they're always searching outside of themselves instead of looking in. Indigenous people don't go outside of themselves to search who they are. They know who they are and where they came from. And that's why it's such a threat. And that's why they are constantly being reprogrammed and why there is such dominant addiction issue when you are being forced to forget who you are. And these people are lost. So mineral people, as I said, are storytellers. They're fascinated with myth, tradition, and rituals. They can also have a great love of argument and finding different ways to say the same thing or eloquent ways of saying nothing and can baffle non-mineral people. They tend to be extroverted people who always have a point. Their gift is remembering through words and stories one's origins and purpose. So when you meet someone, oftentimes when I go to work with someone, I get the last digit of their birth year. And what that does is it helps me better understand the foundation of who I'm working with, what's important to them. I can even tell if someone's out of balance, their out of their element, because if I know someone who is a fire and they are on fire and they're like a hummingbird jumping from thing to thing to thing and can't sit still, I know that I need to do something with them to help them get grounded immediately because fire people can be ungrounded very easily. Also, in the dynamics of a family, you don't want to have too many fires in a household. And if you do, you must have a water element like a pool or a water fountain or something that is significant to help cool them down. So in relationship, we were told that you really want to have 3 times more water than fire. So if you have a lot of fire in your house or someone is on fire, if you have a water element in your home, it's helpful. When you have a mineral person, especially when someone is master mineral, when they don't know who they are, they can go into deep depression because they have no sense of self. They're searching for meaning and searching for who they are and in humanity as themselves. And so I invite you to really play around with these numbers and you use some of these as the opposite to help resolve it. So sometimes if you're on fire, you want to go out into earth and ground yourself. So that's something that I've done, or I need to cool off and go into water. So I hope this was interesting to you. There was so much more to learn about the Dagara tribe and their ways. But if you think about it and you look at your own numbers, and if someone you know is a master, like a 66, so it doesn't matter if, let's say, 0 and 5 are both earth people. It's only master if it's the same digit. So if you see someone in 2005 who was born, that is not it. It would have to be 1955 for them to be a master in that. And I will tell you, I took a fire walking class, and because I was afraid of my fire, I did not want to face it. So I used the fire to step into discovering who I am and being more comfortable in the fire. And I ended up doing a week-long fire walking ceremony class, teaching people how to do fire walks. I'm trained in that. And what happened was I was terrified all week because that Sunday I was told I was going to have to walk 40 feet of red hot coals. Yes. So all week, all I thought about, I went into drama. I was terrified. I couldn't understand how someone would be able to walk 40 feet of red hot coals without literally burning their feet off. So all week we were practicing walking 7 to 10 feet of red hot coals. Meanwhile, I had a master fire in my class. So he was born in 1977. And the crazy thing about him is he owned his fire. He loved fire. He started doing somersaults across the fire. It was insane. He had charcoal I had to pull off of his back because when he finished the somersaults, they were still stuck to his back. Insane. He loved it. He thought it was amazing. So when you get to a point where you own your own element, you're going to be feeling much more comfortable in it. So during that week, as I went through that week practicing the fire walks, by the time I got to that final fire walk, my master fire brother looked at me when I was a mess. And he looked at me and said, "How much fire have you walked this week? You've walked every single night, at least 7 to 10 feet." And I said, "Yeah, I've walked." And he said, "Have you walked over 40 feet this week?" I said, "Yes, probably closer to 50." And what he said to me is, "You have already walked 40 feet. This should be a piece of cake. Now go." And I walked, and it was my easiest walk. And the interesting thing, my mineral friend who was in this group with us, she was terrified of, we had to walk 4 feet of broken glass, of broken wine bottles. To me, that was a piece of cake. I loved it. You could slow down and walk across the broken glass. I was able to move the glass around so I wasn't stepping on shards. Didn't cut myself. I loved it. It was the most grounded I had ever been in my entire life, and so there, so in my body. My friend who was the mineral was terrified of that and couldn't wait to do the fire walk. So we all have our own issues and how we deal with it and how we work through them. If you want to know more about the indigenous numerology from the Dagara Tribe, please message me. I'd love to share more. And thank you so much for listening.